Welcome to What the Healthcare Podcast, a platform designed to educate you, the listener, by sharing experiences and stories of healthcare professionals and patients who have been injured by the system. Today is Thursday, October 17th, 2024, and I am absolutely blessed to have this incredible guest, Lynette, with us. Lynette is a public speaker, author, survivor of stage 4 metastatic cancer, breast cancer, and a holistic health advocate. Welcome, Lynette.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So, if you could just kind of start off by giving us a rundown of who you are in a little bit more detail than what I just provided, let's start there.
Well, I am Lynette Hill. I go by Speaker Lynette on all my social media platforms. I'm a wife to a wonderful husband of 30 years, a mom to 5 amazing boys, and I also mentored foster children when I was a foster mom for 10 years, and I have 2 amazing foster sons that are still in my life. One's a nurse, the other one's an entrepreneur. And life is amazing. And then life changes in an instant, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that. When was this? When was your diagnosis and how did it change your life? And were you otherwise healthy prior?
Yes. So if you were standing looking into my life June of 2021, you would look at my life and say, oh, she's got a good life. She's got a great husband, great kids. She's got a modest home on 2 acres with dogs and cats and chickens and turtles walking around. She's healthy. She's got a corporate job that she loves. Life is good. And then the very next month, July of 2021, my life would turn upside down only because I couldn't go to the bathroom all of a sudden, could not have a bowel movement. And then through a series of tests and MRIs, it was determined that I had not just breast cancer, but it was stage 4 that had metastasized through my body and into my bones,
Wow.
just like that.
And so that
And
was quite a
prior to
surprise, I'm
that,
sure.
yeah, prior to that, I was healthy, no comorbidities, no medication. I'd been in the hospital 5 times to have my 5 great boys, and that was it. That was the extent of my knowledge of the medical industry.
So in July of 2021, I actually got my diagnosis. But prior to that, just a few weeks prior to that, I had a call from an urgent care doctor. And he said to me, I need you to go to your primary doctor immediately. He says, you cannot wait a month. You cannot wait 2 months. And I asked him why, but he couldn't tell me. He said, I've sent all the information to your primary doctor. So I went to my primary doctor, called them actually, and because of COVID protocols at the time, they didn't have any openings. They said, we can't see you for 3 to 4 months. And I said, oh, no, no, no. You cannot wait 3 to 4 months, according to the doctor. I need to come in right now. But as I was saying, and it's in my book, God was in every part of this journey because my daughter in law happened to work in that office. So I hung up and I called her on her cell phone and I said, this is what the urgent care doctor said. I don't have months to wait. I need to see the doctor now. So she got me in, and over a series of him doing his own test, that's when he called me and said, your results came in and you have cancer. And the reason you couldn't go to the bathroom is you have a 12 centimeter mass on your ovaries that's pushing against your colon, and that's why you couldn't go to the bathroom.
So you had been healthy prior and you have this diagnosis. So I assume you start with Western medicine, you head there. And what was your prognosis from your doctors? And what did your treatment look like?
My prognosis was stage 4 metastatic breast cancer with mets to the bone. It was lobular carcinoma that was in my breast, my lungs, my stomach, 12 centimeter mass sitting on my ovaries and into my bones. And my prognosis that they told my family was to keep her comfortable, try to keep her pain free, because she has about 3 to 6 months, because her scans are not the scans of someone that lives normally. And there's no cure in the medical industry for stage 4. So all I'm hearing is stage 4 cancer in my bones, no time to live, but this treatment can help give you a quality of life. And I didn't know what that quality of life meant. And because I didn't know anything about the medical industry, had not been on any medication or anything, I thought that's the way to go. So I immediately jumped into the chemo treatment that they uh, gave me as a protocol. And I think because my body didn't know medication, that harsh treatment was absolutely devastating for my body. I immediately started to spiral. I had vomiting and diarrhea at the same time. And because that was constantly happening, I was rushed to the hospital with to have hydration all the time. My hemoglobin kept dropping, so I was rushed to the hospital to have blood transfusion. And then I got mouth sores that was so painful all through my mouth. I couldn't eat, I could barely talk. I started losing massive amounts of weight, lost my hair, and the treatment was just incredibly devastating for me. I had to be rushed to the hospital, have 4 liters of fluid taken out of my abdomen. It was just one thing after another. And this was all in less than 6 months. I lost 111 pounds. I was skin and bones. My sister, who's a registered nurse, said, Lynette, I planned your funeral 7 times because I know what death looks like. You were gray, ashen, your eyes were glossy. When I would walk into your bedroom, you were so emaciated. I knew you were dying.
Morning worship in my chapel, and I'm just thinking about this past year where God has truly, truly shown himself. From having cancer in my breasts, my lungs, my stomach, my ovaries, my bones, to having my last scan show no cancer activity, although the doctor can't say I'm cancer free until I have enough scans that show no cancer activity. So I still have to take my chemo and all that nonsense that I should be grateful for, but it makes me so lethargic and so tired a lot. Anyway, I'm just grateful for how far God has brought me in this past year, from not being able to walk and being bedridden for months to being able to walk and drive around. And I'm so grateful. And really, it's because of all of your prayers. So please continue your prayers. I love you all so, so very much.
And it all culminated with I got up one morning to go to a regular doctor's appointment, almost 6 months after I started the chemotherapy. I got to the hospital, went in to see the doctor. The technician took my blood pressure. It was 60/40. And she looked at me and she took it again at 60/40. She ran out of the room. And I knew something was happening to me. I didn't know what dying felt like, but I knew that something was wrong. And she came back in with the doctor, who bent down and looked at me and said, Lynette, are you okay? And she knew I wasn't. She was trying to just elicit a response out of me. And all I remember saying is, please help me. Well, before the doctor came in, she called the paramedics because they came running in after her. And they put me on a stretcher, rushed me to emergency. I knew I was dying. It was during COVID. My husband couldn't come. My family wasn't there, and I knew I was dying alone. And I literally just surrendered and told God, okay, I'm coming home, I guess. I was in the hospital 3 weeks after that, contracted a bacterial infection called C. difficile. And I ended up going home with that, with a lot of antibiotics. My husband's changing my diapers. My sisters are coming to my home 5-6 times a day. And I literally said to God, this cannot be how we heal. This can't be how we heal. There has to be a better way. And so that's what led me to start looking at other ways to heal.
Okay, scripture time. In 2 Chronicles 7:14, God said, if my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, I will forgive their sins, and I will heal their land. And it's the healing the land part that I focused on this morning with my reading. And for me, I don't know if that's the actual interpretation, but for me, what I took from it is, if you look at our land today, it's producing things that God did not intend for it to produce. It's producing GMO foods. It's producing fruits with no seeds. And God said, I created the fruit and the seed within it as meat for man, because God put the medicine inside the seed. And that's why the powers that be are making everything seedless, because they know that that's where the medicine is.
What was the turning point for you to start to go from being at peace to I'm going to survive this. I'm going to do what I can to survive this?
When I watched my family doing all of what they were doing and my husband changing my diapers, I'm bedridden, wheelchair bound, I couldn't walk. Because I didn't know that when your body starts shutting down, your body goes to protect only what it needs, which are your vital organs, and your legs don't matter. So when I came home, I couldn't walk, and the doctor said, you weren't in an accident, so all you're going to need is physical therapy to kind of reconnect your brain back to let your brain know, okay, I need my legs. So I started on physical therapy, but I just decided I'm going to see what else is out there. And the internet can be a blessing and a curse depending on how you use it. And I just started Googling people that heal their cancer naturally. And I have to be honest with you, Emily, and I hope I don't cry. I was mad. And that's the part in my book about righteous indignation, because people are dying. Husbands are losing their wives. People are losing their children. So you're going to poison my body and expect it to get healthy. And yet God created all these things on the earth to help our bodies along with a clean diet, but we're not told these things. And I thought, you're going to let me die. And I was so broken by that, because these people are dying. And if I would have died, they didn't care that Lynette died and her family was going to be devastated. They're going to move on. All of these things. And we are not told. It is so suppressed because it's profit over people. It's more important to make money than to save someone's life. So that was a turning point for me. And that's when I decided, I said, I'm just going to stop every Western medicine. And I was going to just step out on faith and trust what God put on this earth for us, along with healthy eating. And I said to God, either you heal me or take me home, because I'm not doing this. I'm not putting my family through this. So that was the starting point for me.
That's impactful. What was the response from your family, especially your sister, knowing that she had a position in Western Med? You know, what was that? What was that like for her? Like, I can imagine myself being in healthcare at the time. I probably would have thought you were crazy. Now, being outside of the system, hey, I get it. Done a lot more research on it. But what was the response you got from family, and in particular your sister?
I'm so glad you asked that, because I actually didn't tell them. I didn't
Wow.
tell them for the reason that you just mentioned. My sister, who is in the medical industry, would have thought, you're dying and you're just going to stop the medication, you're losing your mind. And my husband was already a basket case. He went through so much and he was just so stressed and panicked. If I would have said, I'm stopping this thing, he would have just lost it. So thank God for the internet. You could just order things to come to you. So they didn't know that I had stopped the Western medicine. They knew I started doing natural things, but they didn't know that I had stopped completely Western medicine, was only doing natural things. So 6 months later, after I started doing the natural medicine, I had a scan and she said to me, my oncologist, Lynette, your 12 centimeter mass is completely gone. So I knew that the natural medicine was working, because I never had radiation, didn't have any surgery at all. And then 6 months after that, so a total of a year, when I went to have my scan, the same doctor that said I had months to live, a year later, she's looking at my scan, she's looking at me, she's looking at the screen, and she says, Lynette, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because you have no more cancer activity in your body. And that's when I told my family what I was doing. And my sister just started crying and she said to me, as a nurse, I would never tell you to stop your medicine, but as your sister, she said, I am so proud of you, Lynette. She says, you're the bravest person I know. I couldn't have done that. She said, but obviously you made the right choice for you because you're thriving now. So, yeah.
Wow.
And my husband was just shocked, but he saw what the medicine was doing to me. And then he saw me getting better and knew it was because of the natural medicine once I told them. And he says, because I was getting the chemo pills sent to my home every month. It's a specialty medicine that is mailed to you. And he said, you stopped taking your chemo pills? And I went to my closet and I brought out this big bag of every month that it had come in, still in the packages. I said, here it is. I haven't taken them. And they were just both in shock. So that's when I told them.
I bet I'm in shock for it to go to 12 centimeters and gone. That is incredible. Can imagine the doctor's face when you told her what you had been doing.
So if God heals our land, and I don't know how he's going to heal it because God is infinite. His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. But he will heal our land and make it the way he intended it to when he created our bodies. And he created us, as the Bible says, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And the things that we put in our bodies that God created was designed to help our bodies to repair and to heal itself. So everything that you put in your body, ask yourself, is this healing my body or is this killing my body? And make the right choice for you. But we are created to heal with the foods that grow out of the ground. So if God heals our land, it will heal our bodies. So if you can, every time you can, try to buy organic foods, try to buy seeded fruits, and try to do the best that you can for your body. Let's pray for God's kingdom to come on this earth. As it is in heaven, so it is on earth. And allow God to heal our land by praying and seeking his face every day. Because he can do it. He can do it. I know he can. Let's do the best we can for our bodies and stay in a state of healing. I love you. God loves you so much.
What was her reaction aside from, if this is what's working, keep going? I mean, did she seem supportive? Did she ask questions?
No,
Might
and
this
that
be
was
something she carries to her in her practice to other patients now, or was she kind of off limits on
that
it?
was the sad part to me. She said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. But she didn't ask me what I was doing. So when I walked out of that cancer institute and I looked at all those people that look like me, I said, I got to share this journey so that people know that there are options out there. And that's when I shared that video that completely went viral. And when she found out about it, because I told her months later, she immediately scheduled another scan for me because she said to me, when you have cancer the way you did, and we give you a 3 to 5 year protocol, if you stop taking your treatment, within 3 to 6 months, your cancer comes back with a vengeance. So if you're telling me that you stop taking it after 6 months, we need to do another scan. So this year, January 2024, she did another full scan. And when she got the results back, she said, I cannot believe you still have no cancer. She says, so whatever you did with your natural medicine worked for you. She said, you've inspired me to hire a holistic doctor for my practice because I can't really tell people about natural medicines, but they can. And maybe you can work with that doctor. So I said to God, there you go. The tides are changing, hopefully.
Yeah, wow. That's pretty cool. I love that she was open to that and wants to incorporate it now. That's pretty amazing. So, had you had any family history of cancer that you know of?
That was a surprising thing. I had no family history on either side. As a matter of fact, when I went in, when I was first diagnosed, and the nurse was getting all my information and she asked that question, and I said, there is no family history on either side of my family. She lifted her head and she said, I'm really not trying to be a conspiracy theorist at all. She says, but I've never seen so much cancer lately in my life. It's just one thing after another. And she said, It doesn't even matter if it's family history or not. It's just so prevalent now, which is crazy.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on where yours came from? I mean, exposures, like, do you have
So
can you pinpoint it to anything?
I keep doing a lot of research still. And I notice I've been reading a lot about mammograms, and I always went in to have my mammograms. And the last time I went in was 3 years prior, before being diagnosed, because COVID kind of shut down things, so I didn't do it. Um, I did it, and then 3 years went by, and then I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And I'm reading that if you have dense breasts, which I do, and they have to smash it down so hard that if there is a tumor or anything in there, it could literally rupture it. And then 2, 3 years later, you have cancer. I thought about that. But then also, I was a vegetarian for 25 years, did not eat meat, fruits and vegetables, healthy eating, thought I was doing the right thing, but I was not eating organic. And I've learned now that our food is so full of pesticide. So the whole time I'm going to the grocery store thinking I'm doing the right thing, I was eating nothing but pesticides for 25 years. So there's so many environmental factors. There's trauma that we hold, because I grew up in a very dysfunctional home, very abusive home. So there's so many things that our body retains that ends up showing its little ugly head years later. So there's a lot of different things.
Yeah, it comes out one way or the other.
Exactly.
I've learned that. And there are so many things that I've learned since coming out of healthcare. It's kind of like I feel so stupid sometimes, but then again, I think about the fact that 75% of the United States healthcare system is the curriculum, the medical school curriculum is funded by Big Pharma. And so
Yeah.
these really are the results. It's that on top of insurance companies and administrators without clinical experience that are running the show in the industry. We are no longer, it's become a business, and it has absolutely become profits over patients.
Yes.
And so when I think about it that way, you know, I was indoctrinated to believe that this is how you handle things. And it's been quite a journey for myself to learn about these different healing modalities and the history of healthcare and how it became a business and how important it is that you'll get out of your body what you put into it. And I feel silly not have knowing that before, but again, I mean, this is what we're indoctrinated to do. It's a
Exactly.
business.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit what your regimen looked like when you were
So
actively treating yourself?
So one of the things I did, like I said, there's a plethora of things out there to help with our bodies. But the thing that I call it a God thing that he kept drawing me to was the soursop tea, the apricot kernels, and the black seed oil. Now, those three things on their own do so much for your body, but it was the trifecta that I needed for me. And soursop I knew about because I was born on a little island called Dominica, and everything there is so natural. And we never went to the hospital. We would get sick. My grandmother would pull something off a tree or out of the ground, mix it up, and here you go. So everything was from the earth. So my brothers are still there. And I called my oldest brother and I said, Peter, what do you know about soursop? He said, oh, sister, we call that bush tea here because it grows so much. He says, I have 3 trees in my backyard. I use it for the medicinal property of sleeping because it has sleeping agents in it because he works so hard. So that was like confirmation for me. Okay, I can trust this. And then I looked at the apricot kernels, which has, I am not exaggerating, at least 10,000 different research reports on it, how it fights cancer. And then the black seed oil, I don't know if Prophet Muhammad said this, but he's attributed with saying this, that black seed oil cures everything but death because it does. So even if you're not sick, I think everybody should take black seed oil every day. So I would take 2 cups of soursop tea a day, 3 apricot kernels. Some people take more, but that's all I took. And that's all I take to this day for prevention. And then I would take a teaspoon of black seed oil in the morning and a teaspoon of black seed oil at night. But I also changed my diet to make sure I'm only eating organic. I do eat wild caught fish. My husband loves to go fishing. I won't buy fish from the store. I don't know where it came from, how long it's been traveling. But he'll go and catch me a bass in our fresh river here, and I love fish. So I just eat healthy. Whatever God created is what I eat in its natural form.
Let's talk about food, because food seems to be a lot of what all of us are having a problem with. So when you're on a healing journey, and I've talked about this before, so for those of you that have seen my videos, I apologize for being redundant, but it's something that needs to be said. So a lot of people will ask me, well, what foods do you eat? There's a lot of foods to eat, but the three main categories of food that you need to stay away from is fast foods, processed foods, and processed sugars. As long as the food that you're eating is whole, healthy foods, that's what we should be eating, especially if we're on a healing journey. So go back to the earth, go back to the things that God intended for us to eat. If it's in a box and it's packaged, that's not how God intended for us to eat. If it's something that you have to microwave or that's already prepared for you, that's not how God intended us to eat. So go back to the earth, get whole, healthy foods, and bring it to your kitchen and cook your foods. So you know what's in it. Like when you used to go to your grandma's house when she was little and she cooked everything. That way you know what's in your food. So stay away from fast food, processed foods, and processed sugars, because our bodies was designed to repair and to heal itself. So each time that you're eating or putting something in your mouth, ask yourself, am I helping my body? Am I healing my body? Or am I hurting my body? Like Hippocrates said, let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. Because if we're eating the things that God intended for us to put into our temple, and I'm speaking to myself, our bodies was designed to heal itself.
So you still incorporate these things in your diet? I'm assuming the black seed oil, the soursop, um,
And the
and the
apricot kernel,
apricot
yeah,
seeds. Yeah.
every day, because that journey was so horrible for me. I never want to repeat that again. I have, however, added raw spirulina because I was looking at a research report from Dr. William Lee, LI, who has the, and I'm going to say this wrong, the angiogenesis group or something. And he took the phycocyanin from only the raw spirulina. The processed spirulina doesn't have it because it's been processed, but the raw spirulina has an ingredient called phycocyanin. And he would take cancer cells and dye it purple, put the phycocyanin in the petri dish, and within 24 hours, 85% of the cancer cells was gone. And it does something where it stops the blood flow to the cancer cells, so it starves them. So now I add raw spirulina. I just open a packet, throw it in my smoothie, and have that every day because I'm just trying to do everything to keep this at bay.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. So do you have any relationship whatsoever with Western medicine at this point?
None. And I refuse to. Yeah, I've become so jaded. It's just awful. No, let me backtrack. I do go in like every 6 months to have labs because according to the medical industry, stage 4 is not curable. So they just can't believe that my labs are still fine, everything's standard. My kidneys, livers, heart, everything is functioning great. And I think they keep trying to, there's got to be something in there. There's got to be something in there. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, my oncologist told me just last month, she said, you might want to just start treatment just to get ahead of it in case it starts coming back or growing. And I'm like, what? I just couldn't believe she even suggested that. And she looked at me because she saw my face. She said, "You're not going to, are you?" I said, "Absolutely not." I said, "Why would I put that poison back in my body?" And I said, to be honest, the things that my body's going through now with the neuropathy and the fatigue and all of that, it's because of the poison that was in my body that my poor body is still trying to purge. I said, so no, I will not be doing Western medicine again. So she just wrote a little thing on her paper, whatever. And yeah, no, I don't take any medications whatsoever.
I know you have created and are part of several different support groups and communities. Have you come across many others like you that either had been doing their treatment and are kind of ended up in the same position as you, or that maybe you've helped direct to the holistic side and they've and had a good prognosis?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there's been several people telling me on my website that I created, speakerlynette.com, that I should do a testimonial page. So I'm working on that, and I told them I'll have that done by the end of the month because I have screenshot a lot of the things that people have put on my comment publicly. So I know I could use those. But they have said so many different things because you were brave enough to share your journey. My brother's pancreatic cancer is gone, or my mom's colon cancer is in remission, or this or that. So many different testimonials.
Share with you guys, I got permission from one of my followers, Maria, and her brother in this picture and his wife to share the story. So her brother has throat cancer, and he has a big lump, as you can see in that picture, a big tumor on his throat, and they were going to do surgery in May. I believe the date is May. If it's incorrect, Maria can correct me because I'm going to tag her in this video. But she wanted to avoid her brother having the surgery because they also said that they would have to take out his larynx or his voice box and he would be unable to speak for the rest of his life. So in order for them to avoid that, she reached out to me and I met with her and her sister-in-law, her brother's wife, and I just shared my journey and God's medicine and what I did, and they implemented that for the brother. And she sent me this picture this morning. I said, you have to give me permission to share this story. And she checked with her brother and sister-in-law and they said absolutely, because we all need hope, right? Especially when we're going through such a traumatic journey, such a traumatic diagnosis. So she has been giving him the natural medicine for 4 weeks. Now, it's not going to happen for 4 weeks for everyone, but you could see the difference in his tumor then and how it is now. And now he's able to talk because the tumor is not pressing against his larynx. And he's talking so much better, she said. And now they're going to be able to avoid having the throat surgery. God is good. God is so amazing, you guys. And he created our bodies to heal. Our bodies get sick. Our bodies can heal. And God's medicine is amazing. God said, I created every herb for the benefit of man, whether it's for internal use or external use. There's something for our bodies to heal itself.
But I'm also getting the opposite. My dad didn't believe in your protocol. And I tell people it's not my protocol. It's God's medicine that's been here since the beginning of time. My dad didn't believe in your thing, even though we tried to tell him. And we just went to his funeral last week. Or my sister didn't trust natural medicine. And we just went to her funeral. So I'm hearing both sides of it. But there's one lady that messaged me, and I was so impressed with that. She says, I'm doing your protocol and changing my diet, and I'm trying to get people to stop calling it my protocol. I've always called it God's medicine. That's what I want them to call it. But she says, I'm doing your protocol for my cancer, but because I'm eating healthy, like you suggested, and doing all that, she says, I've noticed I haven't had to take my insulin. So then about 30 days into it, she went to the doctor and she says, my blood sugar has been stable and I haven't had to take insulin. So he ran her A1C, I think it's called. And he said to her, you no longer have diabetes. So she was so excited when she messaged me. She said, I'm taking this for my cancer, but it got rid of my diabetes. And I told her, I said, I am not a doctor, but I tell people diet can reverse so much of what's going on in our bodies. Even if you don't take the natural medicine, if you just change your diet, you'd be amazed how your body starts healing. So yeah, I'm getting all of those kind of things, and it's been such a blessing.
That is such a blessing. My gosh. And yes, I agree. I mean, our bodies are meant to heal
Yeah.
themselves. And so we are given the tools all around us. And I will say, I think that there is one good thing that has come out of the pandemic is that there is no longer this blind trust in doctors and in the healthcare system by many, many people. Many people
Right.
have changed their stance, which I think is excellent. And it
Yes.
really is so simple when you think about it. Again, you will get out of your body what you put into it. And
Exactly.
and we have we were so conditioned to, I mean, I think of, when I came out of the industry, I was on half a dozen different prescription medications with, a dozen different diagnoses. And I think I was able to get off of everything just by going the natural route. And
Yeah.
I think back now, like, my gosh, how silly. I would just put those pills in my body like it was nothing, not even paying attention to the warnings that are right there. Like, we've just
Yeah.
been so conditioned. Um, so this is pretty amazing. So how did you end up connecting then with Barbara O'Neill?
It's interesting because a lady that is connected to her, they were going to do a conference in Los Angeles on 25th, 26th, 27th. And I guess Barbara O'Neill asked the lady, do you have any speakers with this kind of story or whatever it was? And the lady said, I absolutely do. And so she reached out to me and I was like, Barbara O'Neill, put me down as a yes for
Heck
that.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm so excited. And then Sunday after she speaks, we're all going to go have dinner together. So I told my husband, I can't wait to take that group picture because I'm posting it. But yeah, and I have a lot of questions for her. Not a lot, probably 3 or 4, because one of the things that I've heard her say when someone comes to her retreat and they have cancer, she immediately gets them off fruit, even any kind of sugar, especially fruit sugar, for at least 6 weeks. And I'm curious about that because when I started the natural regimen, I could not eat anything. I lived off fruit smoothies until my appetite started kind of coming back. So I'm curious why she feels like natural sugar is something we need to stay away from. So yeah, I'm excited to meet her and ask her questions.
Yeah, I bet I would be too. I'm curious about that as well. I mean, I know sugar is, just as bad as a drug, but I'm curious as to why fruit is lumped into that as well.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll be curious to see what the answer is there. So, can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about the event coming up?
So it's in person, and Barbara O'Neill likes very intimate events. So it's only going to be like 200 people there because she still likes to use her whiteboard. She doesn't like a computer. So she wants everybody in the room to be able to see the whiteboard. And then there's going to be online viewing. So I'm speaking actually Friday evening, along with Jaciel. And then Saturday, Chuck Keels is speaking and a couple of other speakers. And then Sunday, Barbara O'Neill has the whole day, morning and evening, or morning and afternoon. And so that's going to be exciting. But they have, gift bags, sponsors, all kinds of stuff for the event. So it's going to be nice. I'm excited. And then the following month, November, I get to speak on stage with Dr. Brian Artist, who I'm a huge fan of his. And I was excited that he even knew who I was. He says, oh, I'm a big fan of Speaker Lynette. I've seen her videos. I was like, oh my God, he knows who I am. So I'm excited. The doors that are opening, Emily, I would have never wanted this journey, but what God has planned for us and what we thought we were going to be doing, completely a 180. But what he's doing using my journey, I'm here for it.
I love that. That's that's I have so much respect for people like you who
Thank
dig
you.
deep and yes, and learn about themselves and how to heal themselves and take these natural avenues. And I, especially because I know the opposition that comes along with that, and that's hard to do. That takes courage. And
Yes.
I think often a lot of that opposition is just that it's so foreign to nurses and doctors. like it's kind of ingrained in us and indoctrinated into us to believe that there is one way only,
Right.
and anything else is just crazy. So I think that's where a lot of that opposition comes. But I really have so much respect for people like you, and especially when you're using your journey the way you are. Um, it's just pretty amazing. So
Thank
can
you.
you, yeah, of course. So can you tell me a little bit more about Dr. Artis? I've heard of him, but I'm not super familiar.
That's okay. Dr. Artis is one of those doctors that's been completely banned by the media. The guy has a resume 5 foot long, like you do, and he was jumping up and down on the rooftop like a watchman in the Bible, telling people not to get this vaccine. And so because he was saying all of that, he was immediately banned and relegated to, sites like Rumble and BitChute and Telegram, things like that. But he is still out there telling people. And then he did this, I believe it's about an hour long on Rumble, this video where he did such a deep dive into the and it's actually so scary. The way he breaks it down, it is quite scary. And he said the interesting thing about that, people that smoke that took they're not feeling any of the effects of. And so he researched that and found out that nicotine actually inhibits a lot of what the does. And I told my son, who I've always told him, you need to stop smoking. I literally said to him the other day when he came to surprise me from Oregon, I said, this is going to sound so crazy to me because he took the for his job because he's like, Mom, I have a family. Who's going to take care of my family? I said to him, I need you to keep smoking because I said it's offsetting the effect of like what? And so I was telling him about this doctor. But yes, he's one of those watchmen on the wall that the Bible talks about, that if the watchman sees something coming to hurt people and they don't say anything, the blood is on their hands if they have that knowledge. But if they say something and people still don't listen, then the blood's on our hands. He's a great guy, very smart.
I'll have to look for that video and watch. That'd be very
Yeah.
interested to see that. And it is, it's so sad that people like him were censored and deplatformed and made out to be a quackadoos by
Yeah.
mainstream media and the masses. I had never personally lived through anything like that in my life, and
Same.
I am thankful that it gave me the awakening that I needed and got me out of that industry. But boy, has it been like nothing but an uphill battle and opposition trying to get the message out.
Yeah.
I
Because you're
I
so
think
censored.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, heavily, and the people that the bigger accounts that'll come after smaller accounts like myself to try to discredit us. It's just wild to me. It's like social media is the
Yeah.
wild wild west, and I had never really been on social media prior to all of this. I simply one day made a video trying to connect with others, and I did. So
Yeah.
for every negative response I received, you have 10 supporters. So I'm okay with that. But
Yeah, my
really,
TikTok account that I had 135,000 people on it, TikTok banned it because they said um I was not a threat to the community. Oh, I was keeping the community unsafe. They allow so much foolishness on TikTok, but my sharing my healing journey is unsafe. They have to protect the community. So I made a second TikTok, but I told my friends if they delete this one, TikTok doesn't deserve me. I'm not going to be TikTok 10.0 like a lot of people are doing. I don't care.
no, I agree with you as well. I've kind of said the same thing. Like I try to be careful, what I say. And then sometimes I'm like, you know what? Like I shouldn't have to. I should be able to
Right.
get this out. I'm not, I'm simply sharing my experience from
Right.
my point of view. Like I don't see how that's, and I get the same, sort of warnings on my account. So
Yeah.
but same thing. If it goes, it goes. I'm out of here. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to keep fighting this
Right.
battle.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way. We all have a story, and we deserve to be heard. And
Exactly.
so How about your book? So tell us a bit more about your book. What made you write it, and what's it called, and what's it about?
I'm glad you asked that, because when I got my diagnosis, or my clear diagnosis saying I didn't have cancer, and she didn't ask me what I was doing, I walked out of that cancer institute and I looked at people that looked like I did a year prior, just in their wheelchair, turbans on their heads because they're bald, and just looking like I did. I decided to share my story. And that particular video went viral. You just never know what's going to go viral. I just simply shared my story. And the next day it was at 1 million views, and it since just went crazy. People have screen recorded it, downloaded, upload on their own platforms. And my son, as a matter of fact, is in the Air Force, and he was in Qatar, stationed in Qatar. And him and some of the servicemen went into a restaurant to eat, and he walked by this man sitting at the table at dinner, and he's watching my video on his phone. And my son immediately calls me. He's like, I do not like that you went viral. I do not like that you're all over the world. People are going to not like that you're sharing his journey. I said, son, I am not going to live in fear. I love you, but I'm not going to live in fear. And so anyway, before social media started banning my account, taking down videos that I was posting, everything that I would re-upload it, they would take it down. Before they took down the main one that went viral, a publishing company saw it, and they reached out to me and they said, for someone to stop their medication at the height of their illness and trust what you're calling God's medicine and go against the grain of what we normally would do and gain your healing. He said, unfortunately, there's a lot of people coming up with cancers. Your story needs to be told. You will give hope. And so they ended up publishing my book called Overcoming Cancer by Lynette Hill. It's on Amazon. It's everywhere books are sold. And it's still holding the top spots on Amazon, which is kind of cool. Audible, Kindle.
Very cool.
Yes. And so all it does is talk about my diagnosis, my journey. And it's not a sad book. You literally walk through the whole journey with me, and then you're cheering for me through the whole thought process of me stopping everything and watching me heal naturally, and then ultimately gaining my victory. So it's definitely an interesting journey. And when readers read that, they will see why I'm so adamant about staying on a healthy path, because I don't want to repeat that again.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And I mean, that in itself, I guess now it's kind of like this is part of your life. This has changed things for you, the way you're eating, the supplements you're taking. Was that a hard transition in the beginning?
It was, because I love potato chips and I love junk food. And even though I was eating healthy foods, I love my snacks. So just looking at those things now and not eating them was hard. My husband loves junk food, so there's a whole counter out there with just snacks and junk food in it. And I walk past it and I'm thinking, I know if I eat one little thing of chip, it's not going to kill me, but I just don't want that again. And my friend, no, I love Lay's potato chips. Oh my gosh, I could eat a whole family size bag. And she took it and she put it inside of a blender, the whole bag, and blended it.
Oh my gosh.
all the oils and it looks so disgusting. She said that's what you're eating, all that seed oils, I never looked at Lay's potato chips the same again. And I
I
thought,
bet
oh,
not.
yeah. So just the stuff that we're eating is meant to keep us sick, not to kill us. Eventually it will, but it's meant to keep us sick so we could just be on medication and be a cog in that pharmaceutical wheel the rest of our lives. And that's what they want.
Yes, the sicker we are, the more money we make them.
Exactly.
I've had quite a few people ask me about, like, specific to what happened with COVID, well, were hospitals incentivized for COVID deaths? Well, let me tell you, you're worth far more just staying sick and being a customer for the rest of your life than you are not being here at all. So,
Right.
I'm sure, yes, there was incentive money, but no, I mean, to my point is that yes, we are worth far more the sicker we are. And it's really like when you compare some of the European foods to to the same brands and products as we have here in the United States, and you see the vast difference of ingredients. It's pretty crazy. How can you deny it at that point?
Exactly. Yep.
So this has obviously very clearly changed your life. How about those around you? Has your family kind of picked up on any of this, or close friends, and maybe they're changing their lifestyle a bit?
Absolutely. So many people are changing their diet, the way they think, all of that. But more importantly for me, they are looking at their faith different, because they're like, for you to just trust like that, and for God to just heal you with his medicines, they're looking at their faith different. Because my grandson had a hard time believing in God. And now he's like, Grandma, I believe in God now. Just watching what you went through and watching how you look now, he said, it has to be something greater than us. And I said, yeah. So that's been the best part for me. But it's funny because now when I go out in my little town, I will go to the post office or someplace and somebody will say, hey, you're that TikTok lady. I'm taking soursop because of you. And I don't even have cancer, but I'm taking it as prevention because my family has a history of cancer. So it's kind of fun to get those kind of things too. So
Yeah, that's
a
got to
lot
be a
of
good
people,
feeling.
yes. And so they say in our lifetime, we influence over 1,000 people, and you just never know what you say and what you do is going to influence people. So it's nice that you influence them in a positive way, because I definitely don't want to influence anyone in a negative way. But I do want people to advocate for their health, because like I said before, if you die, the medical industry is going to move on, but your family's going to be devastated.
Yep, absolutely agree. So how important then, obviously vary for you, but to, when speaking to other people, how do you preface the importance of faith and a positive mindset? Because I think that that's incredibly important when you're going through something like this. Mindset is everything.
So I'm really glad you asked that. I interviewed a doctor. He's from Russia, called Dr. Zubkov, and he's a cardiologist. No. He's for the brain. I can't remember the name of it.
Neurologist?
Yes. And he said to me, he knows within 5 minutes of a patient coming into his office, if they're going to do well or not, just by their mindset. He says, I cannot tell you how important mindset is. Because if you don't believe for your healing, you can take all the natural medicines, you can change your diet, but you have to believe that this is going to work. You have to believe you can be healed. And that's why I tell people all the time. In my first video, I said, the last thing I said in that video, aside from everything I just said with the natural medicines, the diet change, the most important thing is your mindset. The Bible says life and death is in the power of the tongue. So you can either speak life over you or you can speak death. I said, speak life and just believe for your healing. Even when I was going through the worst of it, I would still tell myself, you're healed. All of your organs are functioning. Everything in your body functions as God intended it to. I would constantly speak life, because you could do one or the other. And I had to believe I was going to be healed. It starts first in the mind.
That's got to be really difficult for some. Especially people that maybe didn't grow up around faith or don't know the Lord. That's got to be really difficult to change that mindset. So for somebody like that, do you just fake it till you make it? Say the things till you start to believe it? Or what advice do you give somebody like that to really, truly try to change their mindset?
I just tell them, and you're right, because a lot of people don't have that faith in God or don't know enough about God. But our minds was made to, wherever our mind thinks, that's the way our life is going to go. And we hear that all the time. And so I just tell them, even if you have negative thoughts, that's okay. That's going to happen. We're human. Don't let it rest there. Don't let it take up residence. Acknowledge it and let it go, and then change it to a positive thought. And if you keep doing that all the time, eventually you will get into that mindset, that frame where you start speaking more positive. But it does take time. It does take practice. And like I said, we're human. And then too, when you go to the doctor, if you're going through a journey like this and you get a bad report, that sets you back so far, because that's the worst thing. And we talk about that in this industry about scanxiety. When you go in and have a scan, and for 2-3 days before you're just like on edge, and it's a real thing. And so we just have that's why the mind is the hardest thing to tame. We have to just try to do the best we can. And that's what just do the best you can. We're humans, we're fallible, we're not perfect. Just do the best you can and believe for your healing.
That's great advice.
That's the liquid in my lungs. Always want to cough it up. I am in complete and perfect health. Everything in my body functions as God intended it to when He created me. I was created in the image and likeness of God, and all that He made was good. God is perfect. God is healthy. And God has created me that way. For I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And by Jesus' stripes, I am healed. I am restored to full health. I have no illness in my body, for my body is a temple of God, where God dwells, the Holy Spirit dwells, and they cannot dwell in an unclean or sick temple. I am grateful for this journey that is going to be for the glory of God, that is going to allow me to be more empathetic towards others, see the things that are really important and the things that are not. I am grateful that throughout this journey that God is with me, that He will never leave my side. I am grateful for family and friends that are around to support and love me. For it's in Jesus' name. Amen.
Do you have anything else you would like to share?
I just want to tell people, I mean, like I said, I can't give them medical advice or anything like that, but I just want to tell people, try not to do what I did as far as being so afraid and you just jump into treatment, because you have to understand that that cancer, especially in my case, when stage 4 and it's all over, it's been growing for a long time. So you don't have to jump into treatment the next day or the next week. Kind of take a breath, get together with friends, family, have them pray for you, have them talk to you, and then just make an informed decision. Ask doctors a lot of questions. Like besides the chemo, they had me on this pill called Femera. It's also called letrozole, where it's a hormone blocker, because mine was hormone driven. And I was supposed to take it for 10 years. But when I looked at all the side effects, this thing, one of the side effects is it's not if you get it, you will get it at the end of that time, uterine cancer. That's one of the main side effects of it. So I'm looking at it, I'm like, wait, I'm going to take this to prevent breast cancer only to get uterine cancer down the line. So I completely stopped taking everything. So you just have to ask a lot of questions. Don't just take what the doctor gives you. Ask them for the safety data sheet on it. They have to have it, and it'll tell you the side effects, long-term, short-term, the chemicals that are in it. Ask questions. Don't be like I was, where I was so scared and I'm thinking, I don't want to die. I'm just going to jump into this. Take your time. That's what I would say.
That's excellent advice. Okay, well, tell us the dates again of your upcoming events with Barbara O'Neill and Dr. Artis, if you could.
So my event with Dr. Artis is November 8th and 9th in Springfield, Missouri. That's going to be recorded, so I'll upload that on my website and social media. And Barbara O'Neill is next weekend, the 25th, 26th, 27th in Los Angeles. And back to our roots222.com has online viewing still if people want to see that whole event. So it's going to be interesting. And then they're asking me, Dr. Artis group is asking me to be in Nashville or Memphis next year, early next year. So just a lot of things happening that God is opening doors that I just never thought would open. So a lot of good things happening.
Very
Because God's going to
exciting.
get his message out there. Yeah.
He sure is. And so I'm so glad that we had a chance to do this. I really appreciate you coming on.
No, I appreciate you taking the time to want to do this. I just admire you, and I admire your courage and what you're doing. It's amazing, and the world needs you. You're going to help
Oh,
change the world.
well, thank you. That really means a lot, especially coming from you. And I likewise, I admire what you're doing, very much so.
Mhm.
And I'm glad you're willing to share your story.
I commented on a video about soursop leaves and how it actually helped with my cancer because soursop tea is known to kill cancer cells. And I had a lot of comments on that. So I just wanted to really quick go over what I did for my cancer. So in July of 2021, almost 2 years ago now, I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. It was in my breasts, my lungs, my stomach, my ovaries, and my bones. And my prognosis from my doctor wasn't good. And when I asked them, how much time do I have? They said, we're not going to talk about that right now. Let's talk about treatment first and see what we can do to help you. But your scans are not the scans of someone that lives. So I knew that I didn't have a lot of time. So at that point, I was like, what do I have to lose, right? So I started doing a lot of research and I found that soursop leaves, the tea from it that you make from it, actually helps with killing cancer cells. I also found that apricot kernels, when you take it, it's also a cancer fighting agent. And what's interesting about apricot kernels is that on the NIH website, our National Institute of Health website, says in there that apricot kernels have been known to help fight cancer. But did your doctor tell you that? No. As a matter of fact, they tell you not to take it. And apricot kernels look like almonds. However, you cannot take a handful of them like you do almonds. You take 3 a day. That's it. So I take one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one in the evening because it actually turns into cyanide in your body. And the cyanide, I believe, I don't know, but I believe that's part of what kills the cancer cells. So I drink soursop tea every day, 2 cups a day. I take 3 apricot kernels, but I also changed my diet. So you can't take these things and still eat all the junk food, all the sugars, all that kind of stuff. You do have to change. And that was the hardest thing for me because I love sweets, I love sugar, I love cake, I love all of that kind of stuff. And do I not eat it anymore? Of course I do. But every once in a while, like for Easter Sunday, of course I was going to have a piece of Mother's Day cake on Mother's Day as well, but I don't do it every day. So you do have to be mindful of what you put in your body. Also, cancer cells cannot live in a alkaline body. So eat a lot of things that are alkaline, like a lot of green leafy vegetables, a lot of fruits, that kind of stuff. Um, but you have to advocate for your health because the doctors, they were not taught. Even my doctor confessed that to me. They were not taught in school about nutrition and all of that. It's all about medicine. So it's very important that you advocate for your own health. I also take a teaspoon every morning of black seed oil. And black seed oil is known to help so much with your body. So there's so many things that you can do. But as of February 2023, when I did another scan, she says, I don't know what you're doing, but you have no cancer cells in your body. So I was so happy to hear that. But aside from all of that, this is even more important than the things I just mentioned about what I ingest in my body. Your mind is the most important thing. The Bible says life and death is in the power of the tongue. So, as hard as it is, don't focus on your cancer, as hard as that is, because it's there, right? But focus on life. Speak life to yourself every day. Look in the mirror and say, I am cancer free. I'm going to live a long, healthy life. Speak life. What you speak creates, right? So make sure that even though you're trying to do the best for your body, if you're constantly, woe is me, and why did I get cancer, and all of that kind of stuff, that has a lot to do with your health as well. So speak life, eat as best as you can, take those things. Disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I'm not even in the medical field. My sister is a registered nurse. My son is a registered nurse. And they know I'm taking these things. But when I mention it to my doctor, oh, no, don't take it. But I did. And because what do I have to lose, right? I had stage 4. They didn't give me a very good prognosis. Speak life. God bless you.